Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School. I woke up today thinking about something that someone said to me a day or two ago. They were talking about politics, and this person happened to be a conservative. I don't get into the conservative versus liberal thing, Republican, Democrat. I don't do any of that. I just, but I'll give people credit for good ideas, and I find good ideas on both sides of the aisle. I see stupid ideas on both sides of the aisle, and then everything else in between. But it was an interesting conversation because the person was complaining. She was complaining about Bill Clinton and the Democrats, and she said something like, she said, yeah, well, they had a surplus during the Clinton administration, but the reason they had a surplus was because they sold America. And I don't know if I agree with that statement or not. There are arguments in either direction, and that's not the point of this video. So don't think I'm getting into politics. I'm going to tell you what this statement actually sparked inside of me. Is one thing that is true is that if a company wants to generate a quick or an early and easy surplus, all they have to do is sell their core assets. It's like if you want to suddenly have money in your bank account, all you gotta do is sell your house. If you got equity in the house, just get rid of your house, sell everything you own, and you'll have a surplus. But what happens after that? You don't have anything left. If you had assets that were producing revenue for you, like let's say you used your car to deliver pizza or to go to work every day, well, suddenly you don't have a car. So you got an extra expense coming from the fact that you now have to figure out how to go to work without owning a car. You have to lease a car, you have to pay for an Uber or a taxi or a subway or something like that. But either way, you now got this added expense because you don't have a vehicle. Or if you sold your home, you'd have to pay rent to somebody else to have a place to live. So some people think that way. They go from ownership to leasing, and it produces a short-term surplus, but then it produces a long-term debt, right? Some people do that with our lives. Some of us sometimes we will take the short-term surplus by selling out. Selling out. I'm not talking about in the sense of being a sellout. I'm talking about selling out your long-term ability to own something, selling out your long-term dream, getting rid of and depleting your long-term vision in exchange for a short-term paycheck. Because what are you doing? Well, you're kind of leasing your power. You're borrowing your power, your ability to create revenue. So you take a job and you work for somebody. There's no long-term building process. You don't have to create your develop your own job. They just give you the job, right? But they give it to you for as long as they decide you want to own it. So in a way, you're kind of borrowing it, maybe leasing it if you want to call it that. But it's not yours. It's not your job. They're letting you rent a job from somebody else that's going to give you a short-term surplus because you sold away your long-term dream in order to get the short-term benefit. The same theory that might apply to politics or apply to corporations can apply to the individual. So on the flip side, you have those who say, I'll endure a short-term deficit because I want the long-term surplus. Instead of just borrowing a job and having and working for somebody and getting that short-term paycheck, I'm actually going to start building a job, which means that initially that job may be worth nothing. It may only generate $1,000 a year, $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year, but I'm going to keep working and building it until it grows into a $100,000 a year job, $200,000 a year job, and that takes time. It takes vision. It takes delayed gratification. So what I would say to those who are seeking to build wealth, to understand where wealth comes from and how it works in America, you must gain the ability to take on the short-term deficit in order to build the long-term vision. If you can't do that, then it's going to be really difficult for you to build and create something for your children and grandchildren. Because if you take the short-term deficit now, I can guarantee you that your grandchildren are going to be better off because of your sacrifice. Now, the question is, are you going to be better off? How long is it going to take before you start to get some of the surplus that comes from your work? It may take some time, but most entrepreneurs have to make that sacrifice. Like I was reading a quote this morning from Malcolm X where he was explaining, and something that I talk about in the boot camp all the time, but hearing it from Malcolm, he's Malcolm, and he was talking about how a lot of these corporations out here, General Motors, I think he said Woolworth, stuff like that, they started off as small mom and pop operations, and they grew into something bigger over time. But somebody had to have the vision to keep the baby alive, even though it was an ugly baby, right? Even though the baby wasn't necessarily as big and strong as everybody else. Somebody had to think about the long-term benefits of taking the short-term deficit. If they were only thinking in terms of surplus, they would have probably never built these companies in the first place. They would have went and leased their job borrowed their job, rented their job, got the short-term surplus, said screw future generations, screw the tens of thousands of people that are going to get jobs based on what I build. I'm thinking about my job right now, today, in 1920. I'm thinking about this job that's going to pay me, probably $100 a week, maybe not even 100, maybe $50 a week or $25 a week, and that's all I can see. I don't see the hundreds of billions of dollars in value that are going to be created for other people if I let this vision grow. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, are you taking the short-term surplus and killing off your vision at the same time? And if you are, what are the implications? You get that little paycheck, absolutely, but who's being hurt? You could be taking opportunities away from thousands of people. Just keep that in mind. Think about that as you decide how you want to build. That was my only thought. That's it. So I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Wealth Boot Camp. We have a boot camp coming up in about 6 more weeks, or another couple months maybe. So you can sign up if you want to. Go to theblackwellthbootcamp.com. And when I say maybe, actually, I think the date's been actually confirmed, so it's on the website. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. I am gone. Peace.